Hello, table family. Good Monday morning. This is Yolanda. It's Monday, so that means it's time for another episode of Everybody at the Table. I am so glad to be back with you this week on our 36th episode. It's pretty exciting that we've continued this journey for more than 36 weeks, right? No, 36 weeks, week over week, consistently having conversations around everybody being at the table and creating access for all. We have a number of new people listening to the podcast since our inception. So I just want to share a little bit about why we're here. This podcast is birthed out of my heart to share and really kind of structure conversations that are positive and inspire people to look within themselves to see how they are creating access for everyone to be present. It's really birthed out of this kind of anti-DEI movement that we've been through in the last, year or so in this country. And it's my position, it's my thesis that DEI only dies if we individually let it. And that while we certainly advocate for policies and corporations to have a corporate social responsibility around supporting diversity, equity, and inclusion, it's really up to us individually to make sure that we're doing the work of broadening our own worldview to see room for everyone to be present. I firmly believe that there's enough space for everybody. It is enough space for everyone, and that we individually can open our hearts and minds to create that space within our own worlds. That being said, welcome to the conversation, several new listeners. Ava and Anna, thank you for joining the conversation. I am so happy that you're here. For those who just started listening, this podcast, again, is a passion of my heart. And though we have conversations around creating space for everyone at the table, it is uniquely from the lens of an African American woman from the South Side of Chicago. So a lot of what you hear and a lot of what you see in the frame will be that of my view and inviting others to share their perspectives as well. Today, I want to talk about Black patriotism. And this topic came up this summer when my daughter and I attended the Cowboy Carter concert, which was Beyonce's world concert. Hold on, for those who aren't Beyonce fans, just stick with me because this conversation, while spearheaded by Mrs. Carter, is not completely focused on her as an artist, but what she really invoked in me this summer. Again, my daughter and I had the pleasure of attending our second Beyonce Knowles Carter concert together. It seems to be our thing. It's something we get to share across our generational differences that creates connection. Now, I'll be honest, I'm an adjacent fan. I wouldn't call myself part of the Beehive, but I deeply admire Beyonce's artistry. I enjoy her musical genius and the way she weaves together art, music, visual storytelling, politics, and social commentary, all without ever giving an interview. This concert moved me deeply, and I believe it's because of where we are as a nation right now. It stirred something in me as a Black woman that inspired me to reflect more deeply on what patriotism means and how patriotism shows up in my heart as an American and as Black Americans. You will find that though Black Americans are not big progenitors of wearing and sharing the American flag, we are deeply patriotic people. In this episode, I explore, along with my brother, Bobby Cowart, the reclamation of Black patriotism through Beyonce's artistry and why it matters that we claim our space in America's history. Bobby is a Renaissance man. He is a reader, a deep thinker, someone that really helps me to walk through my musings. Take a listen into our conversation. I think you'll enjoy it.
y'all don't ostracize me now. I know there are people who have strong feelings about Beyonce Knowles Carter. She is a force to be reckoned with, one way or the other, whether you're a fan or whether you are a critic of her art. She is a force. However, Bobby and I had the opportunity to attend separate nights her Cowboy Carter concert tour, and I did not understand it until I attended the event. What Mrs. Carter was portraying in her art. I actually saw it on live before I bought my ticket the night before because I was so moved by her performance and her message. And that is why I ultimately wound up going, because the message just identified with me as a Black person in this country who has great passion and great heart for my country. But because our patriotism has not always looked like what our mainstream patriotism looks like, it has not been seen as love for country. And literally, this concert, this movement that Mrs. Carter put together was a resounding demonstration of Black patriotism in a way that I have not seen probably in my lifetime.
Yeah.
A full embracing of mainstream norms, the American flag, the American passion in Black demonstration. And it was so impactful. Again, we're going to talk a little bit about the concert. Don't get turned off, but it really is a conversation around how we as African Americans in this country get to demonstrate our passion and patriotism for a country that has never accepted us, but one that we have no choice to love because we don't know anything different. Right, Bobby?
It's all we know.
It's
It
all we
is
know.
all we know.
It's all we know. And we love her.
Yeah.
That's why we fight so fiercely for her to live up to her ideas.
Yep. Not
So,
necessarily
Bobby,
the idea, her promise.
her promise written and constituted
Yes.
in her founding documents that we were not even considered humans in, we were property,
Yep.
but because we are within her walls and she is our birthplace for generations now. We are no longer strangers in this land. We built this land, what it is today. And so we love her and we want her to be her best.
Yeah.
Thinking back, you and I are divided by a little bit of generational gap. You are elder millennial. I am a Gen Xer, and we have probably about 10 years. We have exactly 10 years between us.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, in reflection of this conversation, what patriotism looked like to me growing up, right? Because when you think about patriotism, we were never taught like to. I mean, I said the American Pledge of Allegiance in school. We did the Star Spangled Banner. We did all those things as acts within our school norms. If you go to any sports game in this country, you know that these are things that we do to honor our country. But as a family, the only thing I can think about is the 4th of July. I do remember sometimes we would have like short outfits with the flag on it. I remember sparklers. I remember popsicles with the red, white, and blue bombs.
Yep.
That's the types of things that I remember as a child. There was not this strong animus
Yeah.
against the country in our community, even though we had like Black revolutionaries that had that. But just as a mainstream, Black people hadn't gotten to this place where we felt uncomfortable
Yeah.
expressing Black patriotism. What did that look like for you growing up in New Orleans and Oakland?
So yes, very similar. Growing up between New Orleans and in the Bay Area, neither place that's known for being, traditionally patriotic.
Hmm.
Um, I don't recall my family doing, being patriotic and things outside of the 4th of July like you celebrated. And even on that time, the focus was on the food, the music, and us being together.
Right,
There was no flag, no national pride that was talked about. It was like, no, this is the day we get together to play spades, listen to Frankie Beverly and Mays, listen to the
right.
blues, and just enjoy each other. And I think the other side of that, when I think about this question, we're not a military family outside of my grandfathers. They served in the war, but my family, we're a music and arts and labor, iron workers, carpenters, electrician family. So we didn't have that the military either to kind of help tie in that patriotism. And so for me, it was like another day to get together with my family and play spades.
Yeah, it's same for me. I didn't have military, directly in my family. I had uncles that were in the military, but for them that was escape. It wasn't about patriotism. It
Yeah,
wasn't that let me serve my country. It
I
was
had to go.
I need something to do. I need a skill. I need a job. I need to get out the streets, right?
Yeah,
It was escapism. It wasn't generated out of a passion to be a citizen that serves his or her country.
yeah,
And for those who are listening who are not of the African American experience, this is why we may look anti American. We are not anti American, but you also have to look at it through the lens of a people who were never fully accepted
yes, yeah,
into the mainstream, and we've had to fight for our mainstream position in every way. It's
yeah,
this is why we are everybody at the table. It's to
yeah.
make
And
sure.
it's interesting. You kind of think about what does that look like as an American, and more specifically, like you said, as a descendant of an enslaved black person that built this country.
Right.
My blackness really does shape how I navigate that identity,
Mm,
because it's not. I think oftentimes to be a patriot and to be an American, it's seen to have this blind allegiance.
right.
But for Black Americans, it's hard to have a blind allegiance because we are so critical of the love that we have of this
Right.
country. We love this country, but we love this country and we also understand the legacy, the truth, and we want this country to be held accountable for what it promised. So it's that tension that's always there of like, I am an American, but I am a uniquely Black American. And that experience is very different from other people because we have not had the full promise of what America is.
Excellent point. I think about, in all my travels, we're both world travelers, and I know in my travels I'm more patriotic when I leave, more embracing of my Americanism, because really honestly, I see my Americanism when I travel.
Yeah. Yeah.
In a way that I don't see it when I'm in country. When I'm out of country, I can see how this country has shaped me for its good and it's not good. And I'm clear minded about that and identifying with how I show up and how I make sure that the good
Yeah.
things about this country I give, and the things that seem to make our dominance and our American excellence creed that almost erases others, that part
Yeah.
doesn't show up. And so I'm very sensitive to that. I'm also extremely American for the Olympics. Like when things
Yeah.
like that happen, it's like, I mean,
It's,
watching the Summer Olympics last year was hilarious on TikTok because you could see Black people rise to that
it's
Americanism.
it's like, listen, we are coming. We come in like a wrecking ball.
Right,
I think about that. There's the screeching eagle sound when
right,
the Olympics come, and you truly do see Americans become very, very patriotic, particularly Black Americans during that
right.
time frame, because I think a part of that patriotism during the Olympics comes from majority of the sports that are popular, they
Hmm.
are heavily dominated by Black Americans. So, you have basketball, you have track and field, even for the past couple of years, the gymnastics. And so that level of pride kind of comes in again. It's like, oh no, we're here. We are here.
Right,
America is here.
right.
You kind of, your blackness kind of is kind of takes a second, a backseat to that Americanism during that time.
I agree, and I saw people getting into rugby and rowing and all kind of things that we are, Black Americans are not dominant in, largely because of access, and
Yep.
that's a whole nother conversation.
That's a whole
But
nother.
that's when you see our more rally into
Yeah.
uniformed, mainstream patriotism expression. So pivoting a little bit, I do want to talk about how our patriotism has looked a lot like defiance to others, but to us is radicalism, because we've had to basically fight for anything in this country that we have gotten. We've had to go full court press. And I'm reminded in 2012 when Colin Kaepernick began to take a knee against the things that he saw were atrocities, which I would agree with that.
Yep.
take a knee instead of standing for the American flag. Well, actually, he started sitting, and
Yeah.
he had a discussion with one of his colleagues who was a veteran who asked him to take a knee, and he began to do that. And the firestorm, and our then president, who was our now president, escalated it as he does. Um, and it just became just a dividing point.
Yeah.
That's unnecessary dividing point, because when you really listen to veterans, while they
Yeah.
may not like that you sit, they will tell you, "I fought for you to be
To
able
be
to
able
have
to.
that freedom," right?
Yeah.
So in in review of what that type of different expression of patriotism, what do you think is the reason for the disconnect that Black Americans have with expressing the full embrace of the flag and the full embrace of the allegiance? Like, I intentionally sit down now.
Yeah. Yeah. Same. I think the disconnect really stems from how the American flag has been weaponized against Black people, particularly Black Americans. In this country, when you think about how this country has allowed our own military and our own police, mind you, the police that were born out of slave patrols,
And may I
they
say,
have
very connected, because you
very
leave
connected.
military and you
Yeah,
go
we
into
have
the police department.
militarized our police departments to the extent now. They have been used as a tool of oppression towards Black people, all the way down to the military uniform and police uniforms. They wear the American flag on their uniforms. So for Black people, when it's on the 4th of July and everyone is excited and they're celebrating the flag or whatever, and I think, I was talking to my dad. My dad made this comment. He said, the flag, there's diversity, yet waves.
Mm,
Yeah, it waves, but it waves at us. We look at that as like, those are broken promises. I
mhm.
don't have an allegiance to that, because when I look at that, you have you have militarized the people who are supposed to help me and use them to oppress me. And I see this symbol as everything you said that in this constitution that I should have access to, and I don't have access to it. I have watched police officers and military people beat Black protesters who are peacefully demanding the freedoms that the flag represents. And so there is that tension there. It's like a contradiction that's there. It's like, on one form, yes, I am an American and I love this country and I want the best for this country. But in order for me to fully embrace that, it's almost like I have to cosplay or be complicit in my own oppression.
Mm,
So to look at this flag, I can walk around with it and wave it, but it's like I'm waving it. I don't get all the benefits of it.
mm.
And so that's that tension that we have with the flag. It's not that we're un-American and we're unpatriotic. It's a symbol that's been weaponized against us. And so it doesn't carry the same weight that it does for the rest of America.
And may I then add, it's a double insult that racists fully embrace the flag,
Yeah.
right? And
Yes.
so what you're saying about the system, the structure, the power structure, but then when you see people who use the N word recklessly, who hate Jewish people, who hate the immigrants, embrace this flag and carry it
Yeah.
as their symbol, it's a direct insult to
It's
me as a human wanting to be seen in the same
yeah.
light as those people.
Yeah.
And we have to recognize that as a country, that there is an extreme group of people who have usurped
Yeah.
patriotism, usurped the American flag for their cause, that now it's almost like when you see a flag, you feel like you're seeing a racist. And that is the truth.
That is how I will say, as most Black people, when I drive through a neighborhood, I'll speak for myself, and I see an American flag flying out someone's home, I don't automatically think, oh, that person is a patriot, or oh, that person is probably ex-military. In my mind, I think, oh, they bought into the system and they bought into the lie.
And
They
they
bought
voted
into
for
the
Trump.
lie. They are willing to uphold my oppression. I don't look at that as, it's not. I don't see it as a safe sign for me. I see it as, oh, okay, let's be mindful of that one over there. Similar to how black people look at when you live in a community and there is a police officer that lives in your community. We don't see that as a form of safety. We see that as, oh, I'm going to be monitored. I have a potential to be stopped. So again, it's that tension of being in this country, loving it, but the symbol is very, very different to a Black American than it is to anybody else because of our relationship and how it has been weaponized against us.
And this discussion, right, is everybody at the table, and it's really for us. For me, I wanted to have this discussion, especially after leaving the Cowboy Carter tour, because I'm getting ready to cry. Like, y'all, I'm not saying this. I am not a beehiver. I am not this blind fan of Beyonce Knowles Carter to the point where, give her all my money. I don't own any Sacred. That's her shampoo line. I don't drink her whiskey. I am an admirer and fan, I will say, of her
Yeah.
art. The more she grows, the smarter she gets. And so, as a Black woman, the way she commands the stage and how she takes all of this messaging that is within her and pushes it out through this creative art form, it's because I love the arts. It's just something to behold.
Yeah.
That being said, what I embraced and what touched my heart, and the reason I said that I'm teary eyed is because I feel like as a Black woman, she fully stated my love for country in an expression that I can say, yes, I love this
Yeah.
country.
Yeah.
Yes, we help build this country.
Yeah.
Everything that you see from politics to law to culinary to music to
Yes.
sports, Black people have been a part of building and, dare I say, in some cases,
Creating.
making and creating the forms. And for her to bring Black people, all kinds of people, but I'm talking about Black patriotism, and have them fully embrace the American flag and country, things that have always been for the last 30 to 40 years been seen as opposite of Black culture.
Yeah.
And to mix that together was phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah. It was. I think when we talked about it, and we didn't really. We was like, oh, we're gonna save this. But when I left there, I always consider myself to be I'm Beehive adjacent. Like I love the artistry. I think Beyonce is a fantastic artist, and her imagery and the concert was a declaration. I saw from the moment she stepped out, it was a declaration that this is ours too. She gave Black Americans a moment to unapologetically say, we built this. Let me remind you that we built this. And not just culturally, but structurally, economically, spiritually. All the things that you love about this country, it is a direct result of Black people, the enslaved Black people that built the foundation for all of this. And so to see her wrapped in an American flag, to see the imagery that kind of came up on the screen during the interludes, it was almost as though she was giving us an opportunity to say, look, not only did your ancestors created that, but you are still creating this as well. You are their legacy. The civil rights movement was not so far away. You are a direct reflection of that, and that movement made this country better. That movement made the world better. It was the blueprint. And so for her to stand on stage and to declare that in this climate, it was amazing to see.
It was energy, it was an indescribable energy that really brought up emotional emotions. I heard people saying, okay, y'all, I'm not being sacrilegious because I know I have a lot of the faithful who listen to this podcast. I'm not being sacrilegious, but I did hear a lot of people who identified with just, I feel like I went to church. And part of that's because she got a lot of church musicians playing
It's
some of the chords that
a
they bring
lot of church
you into that,
chords.
right? A lot of church chords that bring you into that moment. And you use the word declaration, and the title of this episode is Reclamation, right? A reclaiming of patriotism. She gave permission for Black people to reclaim their love of country and everything that is mainstream patriotism expression. She
Yeah.
gave us permission to embrace that and not feel like we were in conflict
Yeah.
with ourselves.
I so I talked to Bob Senior and I told him, I said, I haven't seen black
Bob Sr.
people
is his dad, by
is
the
my
way.
dad.
Okay.
I told him, I said, I haven't seen black people this excited about red, white, and blue in the American flag since Whitney Houston did the national anthem at the
Yes,
Super Bowl.
yes.
I haven't seen this level of excitement about like the national anthem, the United States, since that moment. And to have another black woman, some 20 some odd years later, push it even further and create a new canon for black people. It's fantastic.
And I want to say that her concert was widely embraced by a plethora of people. It wasn't just Black Americans. Obviously, she started off as an R&B artist, so her core audience are African Americans, but she has expanded to be a worldwide
Yeah,
phenom. She obviously is very embracing of the LGBTQ community, but she expands her net every time she produces a product, and this was that expansion.
yeah,
And I enjoy watching not just her but the cosplay of the people. There was a liberation spirit, and
yeah,
that's what I identified with. And that's when people say they went to church, I believe they identified with the spirit of liberation
yeah.
that was in that space for people to feel free
To
and
be the
fully embracing of joy and celebration
yeah,
of the moment. I will say, for those who didn't attend and have no interest of attending, you don't want to see it. I get it. I will say to you, I wish that you would be open enough to
yeah,
do this,
yeah,
to Google the lyrics of her music, American Requiem. Just read the lyrics.
yeah,
Because while we are saying it was celebratory, it was also revolutionary.
yeah,
Her entire set was revolutionary, and that
yeah.
is the core of Black patriotism.
Yes.
It's revolution, it's liberation.
Yeah,
We are founded in liberation, especially a liberation theology.
yeah,
That is the Black church. And that is what we felt in that room at that time. How do you reconcile the ideas of patriotism and revolution and resistance, it all being the same thing? Because we get, a misaligned because it doesn't look like the same
yeah,
thing. It really
yeah,
is the same thing. How
yeah.
do you reconcile that for yourself?
Um, I, I look at patriotism and resistance. I don't think they are one and the same. They don't just coexist. They are dependent upon each other. And when I say that, I think about like the American flag. It represents a set of ideas, um, a contract that says, hey, we have the Constitution, and based off the Constitution, we hold ourselves to be accountable to these things. And so for Black Americans in this country, we really are the stewards of that. No one else has had to hold America's feet to the fire for the thing it said it is outside of Black people. We have had to do it because we are holding you accountable to this document. And so we shoulder, and it's an unfair burden, but we shoulder the moral burden of this country. We make them face their failures. We make them claim what they have tried to deny. We force them to look at the things that they are trying to erase and say, "Oh no, that didn't necessarily happen." It did happen. And so, in order for the reason I say they coexist and they're dependent upon each other, I love this country so much. I'm gonna make you hold yourself accountable to the things that you said. Oftentimes you hear Black people say, Black Americans particularly say, why are we going mess with other countries when we haven't even fixed what we got here? That is Black Americans holding America to the promise of what you said. You said you represent this. You don't represent this for us. So how can you now go and take your American exceptionalism across the globe when you're not even honoring it at home? So we shoulder that burden to say, hey, you got to live up to this. And my patriotism makes me say, hey, you got to do it. And we're going to do it from a level of resistance. We're going to do it with joy. We're going to hold you accountable to the things that you said, hey, this is what we're founded on. So they're dependent on each other. They go hand in hand.
I hope you have enjoyed and have been inspired by what you've heard in this conversation. We talked for over an hour. So I'm going to come back next week and share the second and final half of this conversation. But between then, I want each of us to think deeply about how we show up and how we show our national pride and even our national criticism. We are made better when we challenge each other. Let's sit with this for the next week. Let's really think about what it means to be a patriot, how it looks and how it has looked in your community, and how maybe it's opened your eyes of ways it can look differently for different people, and how we can respect each other in the ways we show up. I would love for you to share in the comments, like and share the podcast as well. Until next week, take care and dine well.